Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Jeff. Just a quick one today. I have a story that I wanted to share that was extremely impactful in my life, and I was really, really lucky to be able to see this in real life and to be able to be a part of this. This story really changed the way I approach things, especially when it comes to creating something, creating a business, making projects, or even learning something new. It's or applying to something new. It's really changed the way I thought about things, right? And bear with me as I tell this story. And I figured this story and this concept definitely, if you have a MBA or master's in business or went to business school, it definitely probably has a terminology or a whole theory that goes behind this. But someone that's from the low income, and I noticed that and realized that this concept is it's far out of reach for most folks, and it's something that I personally have never even heard of until I guess I've heard of it, but I never knew that how real it was until I saw it for myself in person in that day. And so I just want to be able to share this story. Okay, to begin, I was 26 at the time. I just started my senior software engineer job, and I have a really great friend that I met here in the Bay Area that was doing a master's program in business at the time. Really, really bright friend, a little bit older than me, still a great friend of mine today and way more successful. And I was lucky enough that he wanted to bring me to a investor tech pitch meeting with a startup company. And because I was an engineer, right, he wanted me to be the technical eyes in that meeting to be able to just assess their tech and how, give my thoughts essentially. And so, of course, right, this is my first ever meeting, and working in tech, I have some ability to be able to assess the technologies, right? And so I figured that I'll just go in there with them, watch the demos or see whatever that they have and be able to give my feedback. And so that's what we did. We went in there just like any traditional, this is pre-COVID. So just like any other company, they had an office, and I went into this office, this expensive Bay Area real estate building. So this is when things get kind of strange, right? Like basic stuff. They give us the pitch deck. This pitch deck booklet shows us who the founders are, and of course, social proof of where they worked before, where they went to school, and of course the product that they were pitching, metrics, that kind of stuff. Typical pitch decky type things, if you can imagine. And the next thing, and the most important thing that they showed us, is that they wanted to show us a demo, and this is where the story gets really odd for me. So they give us this demo, and again, keep in mind, right, this was no school project. This is a grown folks, millions of dollars invested already, a super early stage, right? Like this isn't their first go around as well, not the first investors they've met, and just folks that were established. And they started showing us the demo. And as much as I'd love to share, I don't think I'm able to share, although this was a long time ago and I don't even think they're around anymore. But as much as I want to share, I'm not going to talk much about the product. But as they're sharing the product with us, one thing hits me right away. And the first thing that hits me, what I realized is that it's static and had no, I don't even think it had any integration with the code stack or making live requests out to the internet, that kind of thing, right? Or making server calls, that kind of thing. It was just a static demo that mocked what they were going to do. And that's fine and dandy and all, but keep in mind, I'm in an office with 10 folks, that kind of thing, and they're out here trying to get funding. So this wasn't no college project or whatever it may be. And so if you could think about the magnitude of what they had going on in regards to the demo that they were showing, things just didn't quite add up to me. And so, of course, I didn't arise this, looked at their product and trying to understand the technical stack. Of course, they gave us like a lowdown of what they were using technically, but of course, the demo did not demonstrate any of those aspects whatsoever. So I get out of the meeting, and the first thing that I get out of this, and the first thing I say to my buddies is, "Hey, you guys know that was not live, or that wasn't using." Did not demonstrate their technical abilities in any way, right? Like that was just literally a mock-up demo of what they're doing. And the first thing that my buddy replies to me was, "Yeah, I know." And I was like absolutely blown away at that point, because in my head, it's like being naive and young and coming from where I come from, I never knew that folks had full-blown businesses and employees and buildings and offices and computers and desks without even having something that actually worked to be able to show for it and be able to get funding for it. And so that day really made me reflect back on the way I approached my own ideas in my own life. I came to a lot of really, really great realizations that I still use till this day. First, to set things straight, right? Of course, to be able to, there's levels to this. And that level is probably the most extreme level of where folks have the connections, the know-how, the concepts to be able to establish themselves in that space. And, people solely believe in their ideas and are willing to fund them without even having the product built out. Of course, that takes a lot of things outside of the product itself. And of course, personally, I'm not there, but I think back to what I could take away and how I do approach projects. What I realized for myself is I think back to all the ideas that I've had in my life and how many ideas I've actually physically created and what other folks have created. As a software engineer, as you know, everybody comes to you with their own app idea or technical idea. And think about how many actually get off the ground and get out of just a conversation piece or you're in your head and actually get down onto a piece of paper and onto a computer, right? Very few ideas do. And I think that that's the exact thing that I realized that I was missing, was that when I thought about creating an idea or a project or a business or whatever it may be, I always thought that you needed to have every single piece put together and set up and just create it. For example, if you wanted to create a business, you need to have, your marketing, your which tech you're going to use and what your security will look like, what your customer base will look like. It's like all that stuff is definitely important, but the most important thing and the step that most people miss is simply just being able to get started. And on top of that, right, just listening in on that conversation, I realized that they didn't have those things figured out, but how they were going to figure it out was that they were going to use their existing pieces of the puzzle that they have built out already and what they have to go discover and get the feedback needed to be able to answer the next following questions, rather than being able to just summarize and learn and predict all those questions and solutions in their head before even getting started. And so really what I got from all this is whenever I think about starting an idea, I think about it just like that, right? I think about what is the smallest piece of building block that I can build to get it running and use that building block to figure out what the next building blocks are, rather than not even getting started and thinking about, A, B, C, D, E, F, G ideas and having essentially a idea overload before you even can prove the core idea of what you're trying to go after. Of course, right, this is easier said than done, and I think it's in our nature to be able to figure out the idea before we start fully figure out the idea before we start. But looking at it, right, there's concepts where you need to get further along, where you need to have the idea fully built out. But like most of you, as just a one-person team sitting in front of a computer on your spare time, I think that this approach is much more efficient and very, very understated and undervalued to be able to get something started and off the ground, and using small building blocks and setting aside the pros and knowing all the pros and cons and having all the tech figured out and having all the puzzle pieces figured out, having your marketing figured out, having your logo figured out. It's like set all that stuff aside and just get started and get going on step number one, and don't worry about that rest of the stuff and let those steps come, when they're ready when you're ready and you need them. Man, I think overall, right, I just got a lot out of that meeting. It was a interesting idea. And then since then, right, after going about that, I found, at least my personality type, I have way more success starting things and getting things going. It's like, yes, maybe I don't have every single aspect of it figured out, but it's like most of the people don't even get off the ground. They don't even take off the ground, right? Their plane never even leaves the tarmac. And that in itself is a really powerful thing. And I can't tell you how many times just simply taking off without even having a destination in mind has gotten me gotten me to think about so many ideas and gotten me so much more success rather than just, running all the statistics, understanding A, B, C, D, doing all the research in the world. It's like sometimes it's just more important just to be able to get going. And on the extreme end, maybe one day we all and myself can get to the place where we have enough credentials to just be able to get something going. Getting something going is just having a pitch deck and a demo. But till then, right, I think the number one step that I always urge people to do is just get started. Start moving, set aside all the things that you don't know and just work on what you do know right now, and let those things, once you get to that point, let those things figure out, lead you into the things that you need to figure out. All right, I hope that was helpful. I hope that even made sense. I think this is an idea that I do kind of struggle with being able to piece together in words, but I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions about that, please let me know. Love to hear from you. If not, I'll talk to you on the next one. Latest.